What is going on, you guys? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warship video on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sailing the Tier 6 German light cruiser, the Nürnberg. Now, it's been a long time since I played some cruisers, and I'm thinking at this point on my channel for a fair amount of time, I'm going to be playing a lot of cruisers and uploading a lot of cruiser videos on this channel rather than battleships, because battleships, I'm running dry on them. I pretty much play majority of them, although I haven't made a video on the Iowa or the Montana in full. It's probably because I just lost complete interest in the higher tier matchmaking. It's just not my thing. I'm not having a good time with the Iowa nor the the grind to the Montana in general at the same time. And the reason why it's really could be dedicated to one entire video to explain why I'm not enjoying the battleships in the high tiers, but if you know me, I'm more of a mid-tier guy, and the reason is the high-tier matchmaking. It's just, I wouldn't say it's terrible because the game is terrible. It's just terrible for me because I just find no fun. It's just, you sit back with the battleship and you just engage at long distance. If you try to make a move and make an effort to get close engagement like in mid-tier matchmakings, you're gonna get punished for it, and I feel battleships is just not there. It doesn't have that punch I'm looking for, that adrenaline, that fun I wanted. So at this point, I'm just looking at the Iowa, the Yamato, and just pretty proud of myself for unlocking them. But for now on, I'm going to try to do some cruiser videos, but eventually I will get that Iowa and Montana in the near future. So today's video is going to be with the Nürnberg. Now for me as a cruiser player, I haven't really have that much experience with cruisers, so you can't really take that much out of me, but I'm certainly gonna try to find the best games I can pull off with the Nürnberg. And over the course of days, I'm trying to find gameplays to make this video. It's been rough. It's really been rough. I can't find a solid gameplay with the Nürnberg that would really entertain you guys. But let's talk about my experience with cruisers first before we can even continue talking about the Nürnberg weaknesses, strengths, and all that good stuff. Now, the last video I did about a German cruiser, or I think maybe in general as a cruiser, might be the Königsberg. The Königsberg was a brilliant ship. The Königsberg, I enjoyed every single bits of it, and in that video, before I unlocked the Nürnberg, I said that the Königsberg is basically a smaller version of the Nürnberg, and that is true because the Nürnberg is a larger version of the Königsberg. It's just a modified hull, if I were to describe it. And as a result, I didn't really think about the drawbacks for being a modified Königsberg. So let's look at the quality features about the Königsberg. What makes it a really solid ship and why I really enjoy it more than the Nürnberg so far. The Königsberg is a tier 5 ship. And for being a tier 5 ships, you're going to be placed in the lower end of matchmaking. So you're not going to go against those crazy tier 7 match or 8 matches, or sometimes you get placed at tier 6, but that is the worst case scenario for being a tier 5 ship. So when you get placed in the lower tiers, the ships in general are not effective. So there's a lot of RNG going off. Torpedoes are more noticeable. Targets like destroyers got to get much closer in order to drop their torpedoes. Even for the Japanese destroyers, you gotta have to get close. I think it's like 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers from their torpedo max range to their concealment detection. But yeah, it is less volatile or less chance of things going really bad in the lower tiers, and that's what makes the lower tiers so fun. You get in the battle, you just duke it out because you don't have the ability to sit back. Most of your guns won't do that well at long range, and battleships at that tier usually have a range. If you're an American battleship, you have like a range of 13 to 15. Japanese, you might have 20 kilometers of range, but you have less guns, so it is pretty difficult to engage far targets. Aircraft carriers, when you go against aircraft carriers, your anti-air is not that great as a cruiser, but aircraft carrier planes are very slow, so you can deal with it by rudder shifting really hard to the right and left, and that's what makes the Königsberg really brilliant. It is a small ship in dimension. She has 9 guns that fire so fast for her tier, And she is a fast ship for her size in that tier also. And she is equipped with torpedo armaments if there ever a case when you go engage smaller cruisers or battleship around the corner, and use those torpedo armaments as your last opportunity to make an effort to kill somebody if you're ever in a poor position. Normally when you play cruisers, if you ever use a torpedo, you should be in a scenario where you're around the island and surprise attacking, or you're in a desperate situation where you know for a fact that you're gonna die and you're gonna make the last call to do a close range engagement with your torpedo in hopes of sinking the ship, or at least, you know, making an effort to dump the torpedoes, and random hits happens with the torpedoes. It really does happen for me when, you know, your last health or last breath, and just dump the torpedoes. Just dump everything you have before you can call it a day in your match. But yeah, the lower tiers is basically the Funhouse, and the Königsberg is exactly like the Nürnberg in every sort of way. But where it separates, where we can start talking about the Nürnberg, what really let me down is that the Nürnberg is larger in size. We state the fact that the Nürnberg is a modified Königsberg, or more specifically, it was originally a Leipzig class cruiser, if I pronounce it right. I'm really terrible with my German, and I'm pronouncing Nürnberg incorrectly. It's really tough for my tongue to say because you gotta really hold that U. I believe that U has to really hold, and when I try to hold the U with my tongue, it kind of puts stress on my tongue if I describe it. But yeah, basically, the Nürnberg is a larger Königsberg, but I didn't really think what is the drawback for being larger. For being a larger cruiser compared to the Königsberg, you can expect that the survivability in terms of HP pool is much slightly larger than the Königsberg. And also, for being a larger ship, she was equipped with extra torpedoes and I think extra anti-air at the same time, and maybe secondary. So there's a lot of extra space you can put on the Nürnberg, and that sounds like a better upgrade than the Königsberg. Yeah, that's true. Now, where is the major drawback? Her guns are... I think the guns kind of feel the same as the Königsberg, so you guys expecting a huge upgrade from guns. The guns behave similar to the Königsberg, but the Königsberg has really good guns at that tier, so I can see why it just carry on to the Nürnberg. The drawback is that the Nürnberg is a tier 6 ship, and tier 6 matchmaking is pretty crazy at times. I've been matches where I get placed into tier 8 games, and that is 2 tiers difference. And as the tiers, whenever I really get placed in tier 8, what usually be the case is that I'll be the lowest tier, and I'm one of the few tier 6 ships in that high matchmaking. So that's the worst case. The second worst case is obviously you get placed into tier 7 matchmaking, and tier 7 is in the range of the Nürnberg. But the drawback, you're a larger ship, so you're less maneuverable. So in the tier 7 matchmaking, you got adversaries like the Nagato and the Colorado. Those ships do a lot of damage on the Nürnberg. I got Citadel at the stern, the bow, pretty much any direction where the shell would technically penetrate toward the Citadel, whether I'm angled or not, has a real high chance of actually hitting the Citadel. And that what really drives me nuts. It feels like I'm a glass cannon with the Nürnberg. And to make things worse, the Nürnberg plays like the Königsberg. The Königsberg excels a lot in close range engagement because the Königsberg and the Nürnberg has a high DPS. Now, for the way you play DPS cruisers, you're either a DPS type cruiser or you're a cruiser that punches heavy blows on another ship. And when you're playing heavy blows ships, you usually play the Japanese heavy cruisers or the Pensacola from the American line where they start getting the bigger caliber guns. The Nürnberg is not that. So when you engage in a ship, if you're at a distance, you're going to have a huge arc. And when you have a huge arc, your shells are going to be bouncing off the decks when you're at a far distance because you're not having a straight penetration. Your shell's not going to be looking like this, where I'm looking at the ship and it's going to penetrate through the ship. It's actually going to be landing on top of the ship. And when you land on top of the ship, you're just going to hit the deck. And hitting the deck doesn't really do that much damage when you hit the belt armor. So with the Nürnberg, you're really forced to play close quarter. And you probably say, alright, so I'm just got to learn how to play close quarter. Well, if you play close quarter, you face with the issue with the armor. And armor is a big problem with the German cruiser for a lot of players out there. And for me, it is, but there are ways to work around with it because, as always, wherever there is a drawback with a ship, you want to learn to capitalize it and want to, learn to cope with it, how to fix that issue, when to engage, disengage, and all this strategy goes through your head. And sometimes it's just not a ship with guns. You got to put your head to on the boat and determine as a captain to where you should pinpoint your position, when to engage, when to disengage, like I said. But yeah, as it stacks on with the armor, I'm starting to get more restricted. And at this point, I kind of conclude that due to the weak armor, I think the armor is pretty much the thinnest for a tier 6 ship. Where is the armor? The armor is 50mm. That is like almost a high tier destroyer. So your armor is so thin that any cruiser can penetrate your belt armor. Any battleship can penetrate your belt armor. And if there was ever a case that you get penetrated, you can expect that you can lose a lot of health. So you don't have that great of survivability. And that kind of forces you to play much farther distance. But didn't we just state the fact that the Nürnberg excels in close quarter engagement due to her high DPS and her German AP? German APs, if you haven't figured, German APs are the best for the cruisers at the moment. I don't think any other AP excels the German in terms of the DPS. I mean, yeah, per shell, I think the Japanese and Americans heavy cruisers do more damage per shell, but you gotta remember the Germans have rapid fire guns until you get to the York and other type of cruisers. But back to the point. Due to the light armor, you're forced to play back. And if you play back, you lose your effectiveness with your guns. If you play too close, you get all your effectiveness with your guns. But you're going to die really fast. And in most cases, when you're a experienced tier 6 player, when you play enough tier 6 and you go against enough Nürnbergs as a battleship player or a cruiser, you know for a fact that the Nürnberg has weak armor. There have been random case scenarios where I see a Nürnberg and I just fire a random shell and it lands in the rear end of the superstructure and I actually get the Citadel. So whenever I see the chance to see a Nürnberg show a broadside, knowing for a fact that it has weak belt armor, I always go for a Nürnberg, especially with my Fuso or New Mexico. But yeah, that is the struggle I face. Now, back to the point about the less maneuverability, it is slightly less maneuverable than the Königsberg, but that makes all the difference in the world because you're trying to dodge torpedoes as a cruiser because torpedoes will take half your health, at least, or a quarter if you're really lucky. You're trying to dodge 17 to 14-inch shells from battleships that would drive you nuts if they actually Citadel you. You try to dodge tier 7 and tier 6 aircraft carriers because tier 6 and tier 7 aircraft carriers have very fast planes at this point. I think tier 6 is where aircraft carrier starts to become a noticeably powerful target to face. So it stacks up, and at this point, I want to conclude that the Nürnberg is not a brawling ship. The only time it will become a brawling ship is when you point your stern and a cruiser that you're facing is chasing after you. When does that really happen? That is not as open as, a Japanese Aoba and the Cleveland, the American Cleveland, where you can really adapt to many situations. You're just not that restricted. You see enemies engaging you, just like, yeah, I can engage back at them. With the Nürnberg, I got worried that, is that a battleship? Is that a destroyer that's going to drop torpedoes? Because I don't have that much of a maneuverability, and I'm fairly slow for this type of cruiser. Do I engage a aircraft carrier? Because German anti-air, as it seems, I don't think the anti-air is better than the Aoba for a tier 6. I'm not sure, but it's not really that enough to stop a Hiryu or a Ranger to strike you at all. And I had to equip the defensive fire if you want to survive against aircraft carriers. So yeah, you gotta ask yourself every time when you play the Nürnberg and when you engage. With the Aoba, I'm like, I see battleships. I know for a fact that I'm not detected. I can position myself in such a way where I can just engage them at a far distance, set them on fire. With Nürnberg, I can do that, but I can still get Citadel at the back. So it seems to me that I'm bagging on the armor, but there are just ways you can work around with it. The armor is not entirely a letdown to a point where you get destroyed, even though a destroyer can actually Citadel you. you can still ricochet shots or bounce them as long as you angle against a cruiser like Cleveland. But like I said, battleships, forget it. If you're in a close quarter engagement against battleships, I usually don't really bother to make an effort to run away unless I have 13 kilometers to work with or 10 kilometers. But once I'm like 8 kilometers, 5 kilometers, I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to go in and dump my torpedoes, because the moment I show my broadside, he can one-shot me. And even if I'm successfully turned around, he can still do a devastating amount of damage. But yeah, that is the point with the Nürnberg. That's the trouble I have with the Nürnberg, is that she's less maneuverable and her armor really kills the point of trying to engage a ship. Now, although it's, at this point I'm like kind of feeling down about the Nürnberg, at least the Nürnberg has good AP, good fire rate, and good range, because the range, I believe she has the farthest range, if not somewhere near the Clevelands and the Iowa and slightly more. So she has the range to gauge at long distances. So in the beginning match, you want to play passive with the Nürnberg. And once the ship starts to whittle down to like half and half, and at that point it's much less ships around, and you kind of like get into that situation where it is late game and it's one-on-one, that is the moment of opportunity to strike with the Nürnberg. So you guys survive the beginning match, and then once you get to the late match, you can start to stretch your strength by engaging other ships one-on-one. The Nürnberg does a really good job if you can face other cruisers and destroyers due to her AP and DPS, like I said. So the damage is there. It's just not that the defensive ability in terms of anti-air, maneuverability against torpedoes, and pretty much the armor against battleships and cruisers when you play against them. But like I said, at least most of her firepower is on the rear, and some people might think that's dumb, but think about it. If you don't want to go head on with the Nürnberg right away, it's best to point your rear at the enemy. So as long as you have most of your firepower at the rear, then you can just sit all day at the rear at the beginning match and keep firing. At least you only lose one turret that's not firing and not showing a broadside. And when you really need to get out, you're already positioned to run away. So aside from that, I got nothing else to say about the Nürnberg. Hopefully I can find gameplay and showcase the Nürnberg. In today's video, I'm actually going to do 2 gameplay, because just for the sake of fun, I want to really give you guys a really nice gameplay if I can actually find them. It might take me a couple games. But aside from that, let's set sail with the Nürnberg. Alrighty guys, we are full steam ahead on the map called Strait. And this match is already starting to look bleak for me as a Nürnberg, because there are 4 battleships on the enemy team. And that's very scary as a Nürnberg, especially when you have 2 New Mexicos. That just makes my day even worse. So at the point of playing a Nürnberg, I might want to spend the first couple minutes, scouting, getting information whether I should engage or disengage. And there are a lot of cruisers on the other team also. They're all pretty high tier cruisers. They have a Nürnberg, a Bayonne, a Cleveland, a York, a Pensacola, and Atlanta. Atlanta can melt the Nürnberg really fast. I actually played the Atlanta and I melted a Nürnberg who showed broadside. I was actually like 25% Atlanta, and that Nürnberg happens to be the full health. Loaded AP and unloaded on that Nürnberg, and I just shredded that Nürnberg with the Atlanta. So I'm just gonna sit back, and that doesn't sound great, but isn't it better than being dead, right? See, this Nürnberg is showing a broadside. I'm not spotted anymore because of that Nicholas smoke. I'm gonna cut the speed here. See, look at the arc. It's just gonna land on the deck. Let's see if we can find a better target here. Maybe I need more lead. So I really do need a battleship to push up in order for me to push up, basically. That's some good damage. And Cleveland is turning away. Now, I really want to help that Nicholas, but there are a lot of cruisers there. And like I said, I'm just too light to actually fight these guys. I really need this, Congo, and the Colorado push up with me. Sorry to take some heat here. Okay, we're out of range. We got 390 for 5 hits. Yeah, that's what happens when you engage at long distance. Your damage starts to scale off, and that's true for all ships. But the arc is what drives me nuts for playing a long range ship. So I gotta really find when can I get that moment of opportunity to strike. So I'm gonna try to escort this Colorado. Basically, I'm treating the Nürnberg as a secondary, an extra secondary on the ship that has really nice range and really nice AP. So you gotta really stick to your battleships as a Nürnberg, or stick as a group in general. I kinda just wanna pop the fighter, just for the heck of it. The fighters can be really nice even though there's no carriers, because they give you a good idea if there is a torpedo coming. Looks like this Congo is kinda stuck there. I'm gonna fire at this Congo. If the AP doesn't work, I'm just gonna start low. Oh, actually pretty nice damage. But yeah, if the AP doesn't work, I start low HE. HE doesn't work that well with German cruisers, but sometimes you're gonna have to use them. Okay, let's start engaging closer targets here. It's like this Farragut. Got some good hits. His engine is knocked out, which is nice. We're gonna help this Colorado so this Farragut doesn't get torpedo hits on that Colorado. And that's what cruisers should be doing, escorting battleships. But we don't see that ideal world that often, right? Just gonna keep knowing this.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
There's the torpedoes. Colorado made a smart move to dodge them. Or at least stop. Oh no, our rear guns not shooting. So AP. Got our first kill. Where are the battleship? The Congo's right there. I'm sure there's a New Mexico on the other side of smoke. I'm not sure. Looks like our Congo needs help here. Oh, 7,000 damage. We're gonna help the Congo here. I mean, it's really more in the war room thinking rather than shooting. It's like picking your target, picking who to help. This Congo won't survive if he gets set on fire again. Man, I'm not hitting this. Oh, nice. And there's the New Mexico. So this Nürnberg is not looking at me. I'm gonna probably ram my island. But I don't want to be in the crosshairs of that New Mexico. Just look how thin the armor. We're gonna ram my island a little bit. There's nothing wrong with ramming an island. Isn't it better than to ram an island than actually take a hit from New Mexico? Right? Hopefully he turns into my shots there. Oh, that Congo, where did he die? How did he die? Is it Nürnberg's torpedo? Ooh. Can I get out of here? I think he's dead on the salvo. You know, I've been bagging about the arcs, but there is one good thing about the arcs, and I haven't mentioned it. Check here. Okay. Is that you can shoot over islands. Well, kind of. if you have a high enough, well, far enough distance from the island, but you can shoot over the islands with the arcs, which I do a lot with the Atlanta, because Atlanta has some serious arc. Seems to me that I'm shooting at that island. I might get extra points for doing damage to the island, right? But you can see the maneuverability on the Nürnberg is not that brilliant. I'm just having troubles rudder shifting left and right. And there's a Congo there. Is he backing up this entire time? That's crazy. How does one man back up this entire time? Incoming salvos from Congo. I'm not concerned at Congo that much compared to New Mexico, because Congo has 8 guns, but it's still a battleship, and I should be, you know, vigilant about it. Oh, good hits by Colorado. Good hits. He is extremely angled. So now the game is starting to soften up, but I'm still in the range of this New Mexico, and it looks like he's gonna fire at me. Let's see. I'm gonna combine all the strength of my firepower on that Congo and bank on that we can kill this Congo before New Mexico kills me, because I really need this Colorado help. And at least the Colorado is angled, so it's not big of a deal for him to die that fast. Only target that can really kill him fast is the Congo, but the Congo has only 14-inch guns. Now he's showing a broadside in New Mexico. The Pensacola on my right is actually doing some nice work for us because he's keeping him distracted, which is what I need. Nice.
Our team has taken the lead.
Alright, let's... Okay, so that New Mexico's way out in the distance. Hopefully he won't be a problem. And they do happen to have an AFK York. So it kind of got, you know, they're short by 1 ship. We gotta point that out. So this game might be a win because they might be short by 1 ship. And you'd be surprised for being short by 1 ship can change the game big time. But it's not to the extent where, you know, it's day and night, a guaranteed win. Since that New Mexico is a, you know, hard angled, you can just fire HE on him. Actually, let's load back AP because he's showing the broadside. I'm gonna ram this island. No! He's angled again. Pensacola going really hard. Or ham on that guy. We capture the flag. Oh, this is gonna be a tough battle. Although, like, you know, that New Mexico is low. I wanted my guns to traverse the other way. How did I miss? Incoming. Just like that, look at that damage. He has 30 some seconds to reload. That should be enough time for me to do enough damage. Oh god. There we go. Just like that, that's how scary it is. Let's see. I don't know how many times I got hit by that New Mexico, but yeah, that gives you a good idea. I lost a quarter of my health. Angled. I'm not sure why I'm not hitting this York. Okay. Let's focus this New Mexico. It'd be a smart idea of Colorado. Focus New Mexico with me. Nice, he fired at the Colorado. Oh shoot. I might ram into this Colorado. I'm in no position to like stop at all. So I'm gonna try to get onto the port side of this Colorado. And I'm an easy target right now. At least their last 2 ships are pretty much battleships, and here comes the pain like that. I had to let the Colorado go first. It's okay. See, just like that, for having a poor position, you just lose all your health. I'm not gonna show my 2 rear guns at all. Gonna have to juke these shots. Try to aim for the superstructure with the AP. And... ooh, got lucky. A little bit lucky there. He's gonna fire his rear guns. Oh, saved. Saved.
Our team has taken the lead.
Alright, let's set this York on fire. The other battleships is on the left side, so he took the... or the right side. Yeah, the right side. So he took the long route. We're gonna grab B. See how many fires I can set on him. Did he damage controlled that? Did I set him on fire? Or is that incapacitation? No, he damage controlled that. So he's here. He's gotta be here. Is he botting? I think he is. He's still angled, so I can't really use AP. Just gonna set him on fire. If I can. He doesn't damage control it again. I'm gonna cut my speed here because that Congo is gonna peek around that corner. He's gonna be expecting a free kill. So I'm just gonna stop. Can't really say it's a good game because they're short by 1 player. But I guess it's a fair fun game for me. But yeah, that is Nürnberg in a nutshell. Gotta worry about your armor angling. He disappeared. You can still see him if he leads. So I keep leading my shots right here. I don't know what's that Congo doing. Man, this York is taking a while to die. Alright, we got the kill. Nice. And that's pretty much game. I think the Congo got really stuck in between those 2 islands on the minimap. At this point, I'm just gonna wait for the points to cap up to the max 1,000. Alright, let's see the after action report. We hit 241 hits, 372,000 coins, 5,691 XP, and this placed me at the top. This is personally my best game on the Nürnberg so far. And like I said, that York was kind of free points. There been several scenarios that I got away with it, but like I said, you gotta play passive in the beginning until mid-game starts to kick in. So you gotta take advantage of your range first, and then once you start spotting like Cleveland's or cruisers making mistakes that they're not focusing you and they're focusing your battleships as you escort them, you just fire at them. Just keep letting the shells into your citadels, the belt armor, and once it starts hitting those, it will start to stack up. So we did 53,000 damage, 15,000 damage with HE, so 53 for the AP, 15 for HE, 1,898 for the fire set, and I swear that York just damage controlled that fire. I'm sure he did. Really did. Probably the fire was set on the destroyer. But yeah, aside from that, let's go one more game if I can actually find a really nice game before we can call it a day. Alrighty, you guys, let's get one more match with the Nürnberg. Now look at that. This is the recent update they added on 0.5.5, where you have the rain effect, or actually weather effect in general. But North has the biggest weather effects with the cyclone. But this is like the little cinematic feature that Wargaming added in the beginning match on several maps, where you get a rain effect, and then once you leave the spawn, the rain stops. But yeah, we're back on Nürnberg and still on straight, but this time we're playing on a standard battle match. Let's head toward the left because I'm more comfortable with the left than the right, honestly, because the left has much more open ocean than the right, where there's islands, so there's a lower chance of me actually ramming an island. So there's a lot much more space for me to kite those 14-inch and 16-inch shells from the enemy team. Well, there's actually no 16. Certainly there is a lot of 14 coming out at New Mexico, Fuso, and New York. But yeah, we're gonna sell broadside just because we did not spot it yet. Our farragut is gonna go in, and hopefully this New Mexico goes straight and not broadside at spawn, because I'm not, that unaware of how New Mexico operates. It really operates really well at 10 kilometers, not, 18, 17 kilometers. Alright, first shot of the game. We're in no hurry, so we're gonna cut half speed. Really not in a hurry. I love the HE for that destroyer, but it looks like he popped the smoke. So we're gonna fire at this Kirov then. Let's see, is that a nice broadside citadel? Oh, no. Start loading. Let's pop the fighter so I know where the, what do you call it, the torpedoes coming. Let's fire at this destroyer. And he just disappears like that. Nice. Oh gosh. Ow. Oh my gosh, there. Okay, we're gonna go right here. Big time, big right, big right. There's a lot of destroyers. I'm taking a lot of heat. I don't know why I'm taking all the heat here, but we gotta go hard right. My guns won't bear. I'm gonna take some serious citadels at this moment. Clemson, right there. Nürnberg realized that I'm broadside, so he's gonna give it a shot. And we back us up at Clemson. Okay. I really need my team to slightly push up, because there's no way I can tank this amount of damage. I'm not in a battleship. I mean, I would if I was in a Fuso, but this New Mexico is still squeaky clean. This Kirov, I'm not sure what's Kirov doing. He's way back there. Alright, so there was another destroyer here. I don't know where is that. Maybe that smoke is the destroyer. Yeah, that is the other destroyer. The Phoenix and me are taking the pain. The last two ships that ever take the pain, really. The ships that you would not expect to take the pain, but they are taking the pain. Alright, let's bail on this one. Ow. I see torpedoes coming this way. There's a Minikaze also there. How many destroyers are there? I didn't realize there was a lot of destroyers. Didn't think about it. I keep firing at this. I think this is a Chinese destroyer. The Anshan. Right? Is it Anshan? Yeah, Anshan. Alright, there is New York in that little back part of the map. This is what drives me nuts. This New Mexico really drives me nuts. Can't really say anything. All right. At this point, we gotta let the enemy come towards you. If the New Mexico's not gonna push, don't really bother with, you know, going forward. Just wait for the enemy to come toward you. Stick with the New Mexico because he is a key ship. I'm using a lot of HE than usual, and look at that. There's a Miyogi right here. He might be some use. Okay, I'm not. There's Nürnberg is trying his luck on me. Alright. I don't know the range of those torpedoes, but we can certainly hit that Anshin. The Anshin is really a Geneva, I think is what you call that Russian destroyer. A variant. Not necessarily a variant, just a rebranded Chinese destroyer, I guess. I try to kill him. I'm showing broadside on Nürnberg. But like I said, I can't do anything if this New Mexico sits and this Kirov also sits. We're sitting ducks. All I can do is just fire at the enemy. And this Nürnberg has been showing a broadside for a long time. I should really take advantage of that. Really wish that was AP. Honestly. Alright, he's gonna cut in front of me. I'm gonna shoot over his island. There we go. Some decent damage. Oh, Musuki. There's always one Musuki in this match. Musuki does have some serious torpedoes. Keep that in mind. Ow. Nothing good's coming out of this match. Keep firing this Kirov. Let's start angling, even though that's HE. Let's use this. What I call. I think I should just, you know, go for that destroyer, Masuki. Can't sit back all day. This entire time I've been shooting at destroyers at a distance. Yeah, I don't like that. I really don't. If I'm that desperate to get something done and shoot at destroyer at this distance, that doesn't mean the game's not going as I wanted it to go. But we gotta work with what we have, right? Like this New York. Gotta keep firing the New York until, you know, he realizes that this Nürnberg is firing at him. He's turning. Same on fire. Selling broadside. Not that concerned at this distance to sell broadside, so take my chances. I keep firing at this New York. Irritate him. Don't want to get too close to the Fuso. You guys seen what happened with the New Mexico the other game. Even though I was full of health against a low health New Mexico, he certainly devastated my health. How'd I miss? That looks like dead on. Oh, those torpedoes looking nice. Someone fired at me, I don't know who. Oh, destroyer. What the heck? Okay, we got a rush shift. That destroyer came out of nowhere. We're gonna rush shift left
Tubes destroyed.
as hard as we can.
Torpedo tubes destroyed.
I blew up both my torpedo tubes. He's still able to see me. That is a Russian destroyer, so he's gonna win in close quarter when it comes to torpedoes. But what he doesn't know is that... Okay, you can see me. Let's take a random guess. Actually hit him. Okay. His torpedoes are not unloading yet. He's gonna die before he even gets them out. Ha! Oh, actually got him out. Never mind. Well then. We managed. Luckily, he started shooting at me. He could have got me. I was blindsided. I was really blindsided. He could have got me if he just went up to me with his torpedoes, but he decided to shoot at me, pop smoke, and then expect that I will lose the fight. That certainly wasn't the case. So, wow, look at that. Now things are going really bleak for me because now everyone is chasing after me since I'm the lonely one on this side of the map. So I'm gonna choose a smart target. Oh my gosh, there's 2 destroyers here. I'm gonna choose some targets that I want to shoot at. Pop that plane so I know when the torpedoes come. Can we kill this mansion? Yes, we did. Kill secured. Makes it look good on my resume, right? Whistle shots incoming. I'm not gonna shoot at the Masuki. You're probably asking me why I wouldn't want to shoot him. Because I want him to come toward me. I want to make it look like I'm blindsiding it. I know it sounds really dumb, but psychologically, if you lure the enemy toward you, and you know for a fact that you got a good chance against them, you do the math, especially when you have a high DPS type of ship against a small destroyer, you certainly will do well, right? And at this point, the enemy team is getting desperate, so I'm certain that that Masuki is going to try to go after me. Or go after those ships over there. I'm gonna turn. Okay. He certainly did went after me. But I gotta expect the torpedoes. Where's the torpedoes? I gotta bear my guns to the right. Oh, there's the torpedoes. Nice. That wasn't that dumb. Okay, maybe I should have shot the Masuki because then I had to deal with the Nürnberg. Let's fire some AP. This Nürnberg is at a distance. I can see you, Masuki. I remember where you were at. I still can see you, Masuki. I know I have the little memory thing. Okay. I think he started to move. Oh yeah, he did. Look at that. He's like, what the? Germans, man. Germans. They can waste as much ammo as they want. And then, there you have it. You just say, wham! Give me that kill. Give me that kill. Give me that kill. Give me that kill. Come on now. Kill, 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 kill. What? Oh, this one's got to be the killing blow. Oh, wow. What did he... Oh, someone took it from me. I thought for a second he survived. Load AP. Just load that AP. Nürnberg is gonna certainly not survive that because he's on the border, so it's gonna slow him down. And actually, I'm not even leading enough. I think he's dead. Oh, no, he's not dead yet. Okay, now he's dead. Okay, too much lead. There we go. And that Citadel was on the bow, if you guys saw that at the last second. Let's see where we placed. We placed on the top of the leaderboard. So the first thing we learned from this match is that although that the Nürnberg has really weak armor, certainly is not like to the point where you just get blown out of the game for making a major mistake going against a bunch of enemies who's trying to shoot at you with AP or HE. So there is a certain degree where you can actually sustain damage. It's probably also because due to the fact that the Nürnberg is a very smaller, thinner ship in profile, although it is a larger Königsberg. So in dimension, she is still skinny on the width, but she is a long ship. So being a long ship, you got much more Citadel, obviously. The Citadel room is pretty big on the boiler room. But it, you know, like I said, the armor is still not there for me. But then again, undeniably, the Nürnberg has some real serious damage. Like, I wonder how much damage it did. Okay, 37,000 damage with HE. And you gotta remember, although that's not a lot of damage, look at that. I have 101 hit with HE, and most of the time I was engaging destroyers. So a destroyer has like 10k HP, right? Like 15k, 10k, around that ballpark. And basically I did most of my damage with 37k on them, which is more than half their health or 75% of their health. And that is a lot. And considering the fact that destroyers are probably a very powerful ship at the same time, because we all engage destroyers at one point. And we know for a fact that destroyers have really good concealment because they are destroyers, and those torpedoes potentially can sink you at any moment. So destroying destroyers is not a problem with the Nürnberg due to the fact that it has very, very high fire rate or DPS in general. So there is a lot of damage coming out of the Nürnberg. And the previous game, I showed you guys with the AP how what it can do on other cruisers and battleships. So the Nürnberg, overall, my verdict for the Nürnberg, how I feel about it, is that she doesn't, you know, really go above and beyond the Königsberg in terms of what I can do for fun, because the Königsberg is being placed at low tiers where ship APs can't really penetrate Citadel that easily. But with the Nürnberg, although the Nürnberg technically is better than the Königsberg, I still prefer the Königsberg just because of the fun. But I can still see the potential out of the Nürnberg to be more fun than the Königsberg, due to the fact that I believe the Nürnberg does have better guns than the Königsberg, although the Königsberg kind of technically, the way it plays, transferred to the Nürnberg. I'm not sure. Let's look at the damage on the Nürnberg compared to the Königsberg guns. Okay, so the Nürnberg, the Königsberg, I mean to say, has 136 meter of dispersion. Remember that. Accuracy is pretty important. 30 seconds of 180 turn time. Let's see, where is the damage? HE damage is 1700 and 3900 with AP. Firing range is 15 kilometers. And let's see, is 8 seconds reload time. So there is an 8-second reload time. The Nürnberg does reload much faster than the Königsberg. The turn radius on the turrets is faster, from 30 to 21 seconds. The reload time is 2 seconds, much quicker than the Königsberg, and 2 seconds can mean the difference of doing extra damage, or probably about to die to a destroyer if you don't kill the destroyer in time before he dumps his torpedo, like that game with Straight, where that was I think that's Geneva? That one of the Russian Soviet cruise, not Soviet cruisers, Soviet destroyer snuck up behind me. It could mean that difference. And the damage is still the same, so I believe the shells remain the same. But overall, the Nürnberg is potentially deadly. It is no question or doubt that I think the Nürnberg, I want to say the Nürnberg outdamages any other cruisers I have played so far on the tier 6. And that's what my experience with the Aoba and the Cleveland. Now, just because it outdamages potentially all the other two cruisers, and I haven't unlocked this, it was a tier 6 Russian cruiser yet, so I can't really say anything, but the Japanese and American, the Cleveland and the Aoba, the Nürnberg does more damage. It simply does a lot of damage to battleships and cruisers when they show a broadside, and that's the word broadside. If they're showing a broadside and you're in a acceptable distance to do damage, the amount of AP you pump out, you've seen those 5Ks on the battleship side and 6 seconds reload time. There's no doubt that that is a lot of damage. And to see it potentially work, there is drawbacks, and that drawbacks what holds you back is really being a higher tier match against those more deadly ships that can penetrate your citadel, and that is really what drives me nuts for the Nürnberg. So the final verdict for me, I put Nürnberg as a fun cruiser. It's just a wild card. When you get in a match where it's perfect, in several cases where, nobody focuses you, and battleships are too busy focusing your team battleship, and you have team battleship who are escorting to actually go into the battle, not like the straight game where the New Mexico is sitting back, then it will put you in favor. I would put Nürnberg, although she is a killer with damage, and I see her as the highest DPS and damage you can output potentially, I still put her more of a support ship, although her support role is not anti-air escort like the Cleveland. It's more of a secondary for a battleship. It's just like a extra secondary, if I were to put it that way. But yeah, the Nürnberg, she is very restrictive. I still prefer Cleveland and Aoba over the Nürnberg in many situations because, like I said, the Nürnberg is very situational. But I could see people who really enjoy doing damage and who can really cope with the armor. If you can deal with the armor, if you know what you're doing with the Nürnberg, and you make the right decision, without a doubt, the Nürnberg is a very good ship. It's basically a Königsberg upgraded to a Nürnberg, like I said. But like I said, the other reasons, for the drawbacks of armor and slow maneuverability. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time on War of Warship with the Cleveland or the Aoba.